Social stratification is what we're talking about when we talk about inequality. It's a system by which society categorizes people and ranks them in a hierarchy. Everything from social status and prestige to the kind of job you can hold to your chances of living in poverty are affected by social stratification. It is perfectly clear that some groups have greater status and power and wealth than other groups. These differences are what led to social stratification. Social stratification is based on four major principles. 1. Social stratification is a trait of society, not simply a reflection of individual differences. 2. Social stratification persists over generations. 3. Social stratification is universal. It happens everywhere, but variable, it takes different forms across different societies. For social stratification involves not just inequality but beliefs as well in equality. It is rooted in a society's philosophy. Why does social stratification exist, and why are some countries more stratified than others? To analyze this question, we can look at social stratification. These four principles gives us a better understanding of what social stratification is, but they still haven't told us much about what it looks like in the real world. So, sociologists classify stratification systems as being either closed or open. Closed systems tend to be extremely rigid and allow for little social mobility. In the system, social position is based on ascribed status or the social position you inherit at birth. On the other hand, open systems of stratification allow for much more social mobility, both upward and downward. In that case, social position tends to be achieved, not ascribed. Nevertheless, there are three major perspectives: the structural functionalism, social conflict, and symbolic interaction. Structural functionalists argue that social inequality plays a vital role in the smooth operation of a society. The Davis-Moore thesis states that social stratification has beneficial consequences for the operation of society. Davis and Moore argue that the most difficult jobs in any society are the most necessary and require the highest rewards and compensation to sufficiently motivate individuals to fill them. Certain jobs, like mowing grass or cleaning toilets, can be performed by almost anyone, while other jobs, such as performing brain surgery, are difficult and require the most talented people to perform them. In order to lure the most talented people away from less important work, a society must offer those people rewards and incentives. Davis and Moore claim that any society can be equal, but only to the extent that people are willing to let anyone perform any job. This would also require that even those who do their job poorly are rewarded equally. What would be the incentive for people to do their best if everyone was rewarded equally? Social conflict theories disagree that social stratification is functional for a society. Instead, they argue that social stratification benefits some at the expense of others through theories. Karl Marx and Max Weber are the primary contributors to this perspective. Karl Marx was a German philosopher, sociologist, economist, and revolutionary socialist. He based his theory on the idea that society has two classes of people: the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie are the owners of the means of production, such as factories and other businesses, while the proletariat are the workers. Marx argued that the bourgeoisie owners give proletariat's workers just enough to survive, but ultimately the workers are exploited as a result of this exploitation. Marx foresaw a workers' revolution where he believed that oppression and misery would eventually drive the working majority to come together and overthrow capitalism. The result would be a socialist utopia or such extreme class. In that case, differences would cease to exist despite Marx's prediction capitalism is still thriving. Max Weber, also a conflict theorist, agreed with Marx that social stratification causes social conflict. Unlike Marx, he portrays social stratification as a multi-dimensional ranking rather than a hierarchy of two clearly defined classes. Weber saw the three dimensions of social stratification in terms of a continuum social class. For Weber included power and prestige in addition to property or wealth. Today, sociologists use the term socio-economic status to refer to this ranking based on various dimensions of social inequality. Social stratification is typically analyzed from a macro-level perspective, such as conflict theory and functionalism. That being said, we cannot deny the fact that our social standing does affect our everyday interactions. For the most part, we tend to hang out with people who are very much like ourselves. Generally speaking, stratification leads to more productive society. Social stratification provides motivation for different positions, particularly those which carry higher statuses and rewards. By distributing resources unequally, society motivates people to work harder and better in order to achieve a higher status. Today, we learn about social stratification. We talk about four basic principles of sociological understanding of stratification. We discuss open and closed system of stratification, and finally, we talk about examples of different kinds of stratification systems. And that's end our discussion.